Picture yourself sitting alone in a coffee shop. The tables surrounding you are bustling with activity. There was laughter and lively talk, but with your coffee and book in hand, I felt completely at ease. You don't have to force yourself into it. Make sure they are correct. If you are familiar with someone, you will find peace. Regardless of the number of people around you, there is a man who walks alone, not because he can't connect with anyone. He doesn't require confirmation of his correctness. He picks a simple life so that he can feel whole. The weight of shallowness does not affect me. Relationships or the opinions of others are important factors. Quality always comes first for him. The amount of noise and the quiet in his mind are beyond what anyone can tolerate. Let's take a moment to reflect on ourselves. Have you ever felt the need to fit in? Demonstrate your competence by demonstrating. Have you ever grown worn out of the world's constant noise? It might be time to find your true strength in your own stillness. Join me as we explore Stoic theory. Find out what real freedom means. It doesn't matter how many friends you have, you still need to fully master it. You're a man who doesn't need friends to feel strong. Picture a man spending a whole day in the park after an afternoon. There was just a book and no one else by his side. While others gaze upon him, feeling sorry for him, thinking he's lonely, he's taking in every moment of the silence. He gains a deep understanding. In reality, true strength does not stem from the number of friends you have. How loud are you? He speaks to the crowd, but he does so from a place of inner peace. Being self-aware of Stoic thought shows people aren't bothered by things, but based on how they see them. This man doesn't turn down relationships. However, he understands that his value is not determined by the multitude of people who surround him like a solid rock. He stood strong against rushing waters. He doesn't allow thoughts or judgments to influence his decision to become a musician. He spends hours writing in a small, quiet space without the need for anyone to wait in the room. When they are outside, what they need most is the ability to connect with each other. They can express their feelings and thoughts while listening to music or visualizing themselves as mountain climbers. Taking on the dangerous peaks by themselves, they don't need the crowd to cheer, because what gives you the power to keep going? In reality, the solitude that many people fear presents an opportunity to explore the Stoic theory, which asserts that freedom can be found in stillness. He doesn't need friends to be strong. He's simply built a foundation of unshakable faith in himself, even when others don't. Even if he were to disappear, his presence would remain unwavering. His presence would remain steady, because true strength is not external. It resides within you. You ask yourself, if tomorrow everyone you know left you, are you strong enough to stand? Firm that the new people are on your phone, but how you look at yourself, if you learn to find it. You won't just find strength in stillness and strength in stillness. As your strength increases, you will reach a point where you can no longer do anything else. Change two of the powers alone. And have you ever thought about silence? What happens when a man walks his path in silence, without the cheers of the crowd or the favor of society? Is he lonely, or has he reached an inner strength that not many people can reach in a world that tells us to count worth based on how many friends we have, the likes on social media, or outside of that? A Stoic man finds truth in being alone. It doesn't make him weaker. Some find their strength in the quiet places. He doesn't find silence to be something to be afraid of. It's a safe place where real power is. A man who is not afraid to confront his own problems in solitude uncovers aspects of his personality that the chaos of the world could never reveal. Use Yukio Mishima as an example, the famous Japanese writer and thinker. Mishima chose to step back from the literary spotlight in order to sharpen his thoughts and strengthen his body through martial arts writing. He also discussed solitude as a form of meditation. He honors a blade that cuts through social norms and interruptions, enabling him to concentrate on the deeper meanings of life. The Temple of the Golden Pavilion portrays a character who gains strength through introspection and reflection. This is Mishima's own journey of getting to know yourself. For Mishima, solitude wasn't a way out, it was the key to Haruki. Do you understand life similarly? Murakami is a modern writing star. He lives a quiet life, dedicating every day to work and long runs. Murakami has discussed the gaps that occur when he runs alone on quiet roads, generating ideas for his highly personal projects. He means that books often come to life. This is the art of being still. Being alone has the potential to foster creativity. Instead of fearing solitude, embrace these teachings and keep in mind that it's not a void that requires filling, but a space for profound development. Marcus Aurelius wisely asserted, "You possess control over your thoughts, not external circumstances. Understand this, and you will be strong." The works of Mishima and Murakami demonstrate that in a world full of distractions, births in solitude are incredibly impressive accomplishments that defy expectations. Modern society often limits itself by mistakenly viewing solitude as a weakness, when in reality, it serves as a source of strength. It refers to the ability to feel complete without relying on others to fill in the gaps, with the goal and intention of enhancing satisfaction. A man who appreciates solitude does not reject friendships, but rather carefully selects them. With purpose, he selects individuals who align with his values and contribute to maintaining the tranquility he has diligently cultivated. To a man like that, solitude isn't a lack, but a gift and a chance to think. Take care of your mind and become the best version of yourself, which is like an unbreakable fortress. You need to bring some order to the chaotic world around you. This may look like confusion, but it's the best proof of strength. And when we're alone, we don't lose our rights. In fact, we gain something. Everything we need to live a joyful life is in the quiet and the bravery. We find our true ability and the strength to stay alive when we have time to ourselves. To be honest, having 3 friendships is a choice, not a necessity. Consider a man named David who carefully selects the friends he keeps and doesn't reject. He wants friendship, but he doesn't look for it. While those around him feel compelled to attend every party or social event David attends, he feels whole. He spends his time taking care of his yard at home and finds peace in reading the books he loves. Comes from inside, not outside. The integration of Stoic thought with the ideas of Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius is noteworthy. The importance of a person lies not in societal acceptance or the number of friends they have, but in their ability to rely on themselves and discover inner peace. It was Marcus Aurelius who wrote the best. Getting back at them means not being like them. It helps to remember that avoiding relationships that aren't important is a way to keep yourself away from noise, and Nikola Tesla is a good example of this. For instance, he didn't look for big social circles, but instead paid attention to creations that changed the world. Tesla understood that he didn't need to be friends with everyone in the world to be satisfied, but he made a choice to surround himself with people who helped him grow without interfering with his attention, and inner David, who kept the peace just as Tesla did. The ties that truly matter to him are his friends, who should not disturb the tranquility he feels. David has carefully grown up and understands that friendship should not be a burden, but rather a choice, not a necessity, a prize. Having relationships improves his life, but what is the Stoic philosophy? It demonstrates that true freedom stems from not relying on external factors. By understanding that you don't need to be friends, you can begin to cultivate more meaningful relationships. Deep relationships you don't have to make, Attending every party or social event that resonates with you provides you with a sense of freedom and peace that the noisy world may not always understand. Epictetus reminds us that you cannot grant others liberty unless you first find it within yourself. You cannot grant freedom to others unless you first discover it within yourself. Your true worth is inside you. Have you ever considered the consequences of detaching our sense of value from societal norms? Okay, but what if we stopped measuring? Instead of defining ourselves by what others think, we should define ourselves by the rules we set for ourselves. The real worth of a Stoic is not determined by the crowd or fleeting applause, but rather by what we believe, behavior, and ideas. Epicurus once said, "If you seek approval from others, know that you have compromised your honor." This is a strong warning that looking for approval from other people is a path that leads to worry about a man who doesn't need. People in society have understood this idea deeply. He doesn't measure how valuable he is based on how many friends he has, how well known he is, or instead of praise he gets, pays attention to life according to his ideals and principles. Think about George Orwell, the famous author of 1984. Orwell bravely spoke out against flaws in society and totalitarianism. Though he knew it might make him stand out, he stayed firm in their belief that true value comes from having the guts to say the truth, not in being like the same way Marcus Aurelius thought about it in his Meditations. I'm always amazed by them. We love ourselves more than other people. However, we tend to give more weight to their opinions than our own. This paradox is a tale to teach us about life in the modern world, often looking for outside approval despite knowing it doesn't make it go away. Happiness, the strong and sure man, stays away from this. He doesn't fear falling into a trap. He doesn't fear being disliked or misunderstood, as he understands that true happiness stems from leading a purposeful life that doesn't rely on praise, as demonstrated by Elon Musk. People often ridicule him for his bold ideas, yet he doesn't strive to blend in with society. He willingly jeopardizes his career and finances to assist Musk in realizing his convictions. His value is not determined by how many people perceive him as intelligent or attractive. It is this constant resolve that has helped him make progress. People, with the applause and respect ceased, what would become of you? Or you would say, I still have, I'm enough of a true worth, isn't found in what other people say, but in how we live our lives. After we understand this, we find not only peace, but also a strength that can't be shaken, a power that can't be moved by short-lived, outside, carefully made decisions. As Marcus Aurelius, seen that the soul is colored the color of its thoughts when they're not there. Society starts to control you. You become your real self, free, safe, and impossible to beat. Before we move on to the next lesson, I appreciate you being here with us through this whole video. Spend some time thinking and learning. Our time together is a gift, and so is yours. We really value your help here. Tell more people about these important lessons. Please share and like this video. Each part is small but important, often like the advice that lasts. Stoicism tells, don't forget. The fifth lesson is ready for you in the next segment. Let's keep looking into and accept these timeless lessons. Together, thank you for your clear help. 5. Keep the peace inside, bring strength. Think of a man named Thomas, an entrepreneur, who is busy managing projects and in charge of his team, while his friends and his co-workers respect his never-ending energy. Not many people know that Thomas has a simple. He makes an important secret clear. Limits every morning. He sets aside an hour to himself with no calls or emails, silence and a notebook to write down his thoughts. He knows that without to keep his time and mind safe, he would. It is easy to get caught up in the expectations and the strains of some Stoic thought stress, that real freedom comes from taking control of oneself and not letting outside pushes. A man like Thomas doesn't bother to make other people happy or chase endless requests. He knows that it's okay to say no to some things. Saying yes to what really counts. Peace of mind isn't a present from outside the world. That happens when you set clear limits. To give you another example, a painter named Clara. She is under a lot of stress from getting together with friends and family or help with different jobs. But Clara fiercely guards her time to be creative. Painting is only done in the mornings, holy places. She won't let anyone enter disrupt. Because of this, she makes art that shows who she really is, not affected by outside noise, the lines between Thomas and Clara. Establishing isn't about being alone, they're about balancing these lines. She'll keep them from getting burned out and let them, Seneca once said, pay attention to what really counts. Said we suffer more in our minds than in reality. The fear of letting other people down or losing out often gets into our. You can find peace when you learn to refuse things. Things that aren't important, that you make room for peace and growth for yourself. Have you ever felt like you had too much to do? Couldn't say no to what other people wanted when your peace comes from not setting limits? Slips away, leaving you caught in think about things that don't matter. If you make a space for yourself, don't let anything else bother you and hopes that could help you live a happier and stronger. The Stoic way of life teaches us that real freedom and strength start with protecting our minds and taking care of our peace of mind. 6 society's wrong ideas about solitude. Take the case of James, a tech, new ideas person who spends most of his being busy in a small workshop behind his. James doesn't have a full social schedule, calendar, and his group of friends you can count on one hand modern society. This picture could be easily misunderstanding. Many people might think James is lonely, bad at social situations, or sad, but James has a different view of his solitude. Sees it as a gift and a place to concentrate and growth. Stoic philosophy pushed by thinkers like Epicurus to stress that having more doesn't make you free, but from having to be used less for social. This point of view shows links that someone who lives in a small circle isn't weighed down by shallow links or the way society thinks plans. James doesn't feel the need to go to every party or do everything. Instead of gathering to feel whole, he focuses on what he does in solitude. He loves coming up with new tech ideas that create real value in the end. Take J.D. Salinger as an example from literature. The famous author of The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger kept to himself, staying away from the noise of society to keep his imagination alive. He thought that being alone was the only way to take a step back to protect his skill. Despite outside obstacles, he delved deeply into his own mind and making works of in-depth effect. But how does society see it? Have we mistaken solitude as a bad thing, at the cost of social unity? Linking up with the Stoic theory shows us that being alone isn't a sign of lack. It's an area of the mind where real freedom lives. Can do well in the peace and quiet you've earned. The breaks of other people's plans which lets you hear and understand you. You should ask yourself, are you ready to leave the safety of regular social relationships to find peace inside you like James and Salinger? Being alone can be the source of great ideas. Having great thoughts and being creative doesn't mean ignoring others. In today's noisy world, it's crucial to create a space where you can not only breathe, but also flourish. Not only is silence important, but it also encompasses one of the 7 priceless things that allow you to be free. Self-control. Think about a man named Marcus who lives a simple life, free from social standards or on the surface, getting along. Marcus isn't the type to be alone. He separates himself from the rest of the world, yet he possesses strength and freedom in his freedom. He doesn't believe he must conform to societal expectations of success. His goal is not happiness, but rather living a fulfilling life based on values, and he sets challenging goals for himself. Philosophy says that real freedom doesn't come from getting away from outside circumstances, but from being in charge of our thoughts and feelings. Marcus, someone who doesn't depend on validation or praise from outside sources, can use his own worth to judge how much he's worth. Instead of succumbing to societal norms or the pressure of fitting in, Marcus follows his own rules and dedicates his time to contemplating what truly matters. Mary is a writer who primarily focuses on intellectual works. Mary is living a peaceful life far away from the noise of everyday life. She spends hours writing in her journal. She was seated in a small room with a cup of tea beside her. When others gaze upon her, they may perceive her as lonely. While others may perceive it as a loss, Mary sees it as a space for creativity and a deeper exploration of her life. She doesn't require fame or the approval of others to feel whole. Instead, the work gives her freedom. She loves being a calm thinker. Someone once said, "The brave man is the feel-free man." The bravery he talks about isn't about facing problems from outside, but about facing oneself and accepting the inner truths. We often stay away from people who don't mind being alone, who don't hide what's really moving them. Thoughts that lead to real freedom that no one can take away outside force. Are you ready to let go of what other people expect of them to peace out? Solitude and quiet aren't inside, not something to be afraid of, but rather a way to you can live a free and fulfilling life if you learn not to let outside forces decide. You will find the strength to do what you need to do. Think for yourself and act on purpose. Get a peace that not many people ever get. Do you dare to live for yourself? Tell us about yourself. We'd love to hear it. 8. The power of life that lasts genuinely in today's fast-paced world where people can connect with each other, friendships, events, and being online. It's easy to lose sight of what success means. Ourselves in the noise, but have you ever think about whether all this social engagement really makes us happy as guys? Not many friends, or none at all. In a strange way, be the safest of all. People don't control his life, so what people expect, or how complicated, surface level, he has no relationships and instead lives openly and truly free from outside pressures, stresses. Stoic philosophy says that knowing yourself is the key to real freedom and living in line with one's true. The magazine Nature once said it wasn't because things are hard for us to do, not daring, but because we're not brave. Things are. This refusal to live is hard, often authentically comes from life's chaos, but for those brave enough to be who they really are, the effect, what they leave behind, is immeasurable. Why is authenticity so important? Transformative because it goes beyond short-lived social approval and instead leaves behind a heritage based on intent to act and unwavering honesty. Think about Nelson Mandela, who, 27 years of being locked up alone in jail, taken away their rights, but he has always been dedicated to justice and equality that made him famous around the world of perseverance, and his honesty in action wasn't to get attention or fame, but for a greater reason. That's why his memory, in the same way that Mahatma Gandhi lived a simple life that turns down wealth and power to seek India's freedom with all his heart. The ideals of non-violence and respect changed more than just his nation, but gave rise to human rights groups around the world. Gandhi's honesty did not in following the rules of society, but in being living with unwavering aim to live honestly most of the time, demand sacrifices like being alone and being rejected by society, but it is at these times that truth, Marcus Aurelius the Great, comes out in freedom. The Stoic scholar and emperor, the things that make you happy and about the way you think when we organize our lives around the things we value most. Free from the short-term concerns of using outside opinion, we get real. Then comes happiness and freedom. Our legacy lasts through time and becomes a testament to living with meaning, author. Being real might not be easy, but questions what people expect from society and forces us to deal with being alone and failure, but for those who keep going gives the greatest reward, a life lived being true to oneself, making an indelible mark not only on one's own life, but also on the whole world, a man with few. It's safe to have friends or none at all. Because he doesn't want to be with anyone? Because he doesn't need to be approved of or outside expectations in peace and quiet. He is self-aware and finds freedom in the bravery to live a life that not many people are willing to look for in a world full of noise and distractions. Focusing on yourself and treasures that no one can steal are inner protection. Take it away in peace so we don't lose ourselves. Instead, we find out everything we need to live a happy life. Don't forget that it's in the quiet and honesty that give our lives value. Leave permanent marks and live in true freedom. So now we're here after going deep right into the Stoic view of self-worth and freedom. Let's take a moment to think. Do you really need a crowd to feel whole, man who doesn't have any friends, or just a select few isn't missing connection? Freedom building is what he does best. Picking to use quality over number, happiness over fame, and goal over lie. Think about it when you're free. Free yourself from the need for approval or ties that aren't deep. You gain something much more clear. You quit life for other people and start living for sure. That real security doesn't come from how many likes or how many people you know, but from getting to know who you are and what's important. As Marcus Aurelius pointed out, the things that make you happy and the level of your thoughts and times when they're not shaped by outside noise, you can have peace and power. Now it's your turn. What do you think? Do you think solitude can be a strength? Tell us what you think in the leave a comment below if this video spoke to you. Don't forget to like, share, and let's explore more together after you join. Classic Stoic advice. Until the next time, keep building up your inner strength.